I think we're live, Shaykh. It says live on Facebook.
Okay, if it does, then I think we're good.
I'm just waiting on your confirmation.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala khayri khalqillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man istanna bi sunnati ila yawmiddin. Welcome to another session of the Mashwarah, the Sunday night Mashwarah. We are missing two esteemed guests, Shaykh Jamil and Shaykh Farhan Zubairi. Shaykh Farhan Zubairi will be joining us hopefully a little later. He had the audacity to schedule something at the same time. But we are joined with two esteemed guests, Shaykh Mohammed Faqih, the religious director at the Memphis Islamic Center, and an Al-Maghrib instructor. Anything else I forget to add, Shaykh Faqih? And one of the sweetest.
Your own personal mentor.
Allahu Akbar, sadaqt, and my own personal mentor, and one of the sweetest and nicest soothing recitations that I know. And also, alhamdulillah, on very last minute addition, Dr. Farhan Azeez was able to join us, an ER doctor from Dallas, also an Al-Maghrib instructor, also one of the most soothing Quran recitations that you will hear. Shaykh Faqih, a lot of people from SoCal, I think they either watch this live or they tune in later and they watch this. And one thing we will be missing this Ramadan, we used to get to hear it in person, was your recitation in Taraweeh. So I would kindly and humbly ask if you could start us off tonight with some recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون.
بارك الله فيك شيخ, بارك الله فيك, أحسن الله إليك. Dr. Farhan, I know you're gonna hate me for doing this. Hopefully you don't hate me too much.
Bro.
But could you just, could you also just look,
Actually,
man.
Dr. Farhan is supposed to recite the ayah after this, inshallah. No, Dr. Farhan, listen, you owe Southern California. After all, you were America's Qari or Quran competition winner, and you snatched it out of Southern California, So.
Farhan, I hate to put you on the spot, but come on, just like a few lines, like for half a page, like Shaykh Faqih.
Cool.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
Barakallah feek, Jazakallah khair.
Took the easy way out, Shaykh.
Hey, Sheikh Faqih, Sheikh Faqih.
Yes.
There's only one person left to recite, Sheikh Na'man. And Sheikh Na'man, mashallah, when he wants to, and sometimes he'll play around at IOK when we're testing the mic out, he'll recite for us and he'll give us the old school Sheikh Hudayfi.
Oh.
Sheikh Na'man, I know you have not been asked to do this in a long time.
Yeah.
What's the last time you led Taraweeh, Sheikh Na'man?
Last time I led Taraweeh was back in 2000, and I would like to say 2000 or 2001.
2001.
Like you were 10 or something, Sheikh?
No, I was
That's the last time.
last time, yeah. It was 2000, 2001. 2000, yeah, 2000, I think it was.
Okay, and then the Hall of Fame ceremony for like where they raised your thobe and your kufi to the rafters was 04, 05.
I don't recall, but
You don't recall? Because you were first ballot. You were first ballot Hall of Famer, I was told.
right. I started doing Taraweeh in 1989.
Okay, so you know, they released today. I haven't watched it. I don't know if Dr. Farhan, you watched it, or Shaykh Faqih, you watched it, but there was all this hype around this 10-part, I think, documentary about Jordan, right? I think it was released today, or
Yeah.
like the first 2 parts was released today.
Yeah.
Dr. Farhan, did you get to watch any of it? Or?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I didn't watch any of it either, but seeing that,
He
you know,
was busy.
they were celebrating.
He was busy
Shaykh Na'man,
saving lives.
we'll get to that. Can we bring you out of retirement just for a few moments, Shaykh Na'man?
Inshallah, in the closing, inshallah, I'm thinking about it. I need to, I got some coffee right now, so I'm going to try
Okay.
to, I'll think about it.
Okay, that's fine. Shaykh Faqih, we miss you. We miss you dearly. Go ahead.
If you'd like.
What'd you say?
You can do it, inshallah.
No, I'm the host, Sheikh. Sheikh Faqih, we miss you dearly in Southern California. Dr. Farhan, we miss your visits. Hopefully, we ask Allah to gather all of us in person soon. Sheikh Faqih, wanted to ask you, what's the situation in Memphis? How's your community doing? Also, how's kind of the transition been? We're almost hitting about a year in July, I think, since you made hijrah from blessed Southern California to Memphis.
Alhamdulillah, I mean, it's well, it's a beautiful community, mashallah, very, very kind people. And subhanAllah, we were looking forward to really connecting this Ramadan with everyone in the community. You know, Ramadan brings about the community. It brings the best out of everyone. But subhanAllah, qaddar Allah ma sha'a fa'al. So now we have to do it virtually. But alhamdulillah, the time that I spent here, it was a smooth transition, alhamdulillah. Obviously, Southern California is something that I dearly miss as well. You know, the beautiful people like yourself and Sheikh Na'man and the regular mashwarahs and meetings. By the way, I have to tell you one thing. This mashwarah feels very weird and awkward without any appetizers.
Allah.
You know,
Without
I'm
any
like
what?
used to having
Appetizers.
Appetizers.
yes, I'm used to having some hummus or some baba ghanouj or something.
Hummus with
Hummus with beef, yes. So
Yes.
I mean, that not being there is just kind of weird, but
And the
alhamdulillah. Oh, the kibbeh, Allahu Akbar.
what was that? What was that triangular pita bread stuff?
Oh yeah,
Toshka.
toshka, naam, yeah, subhanallah. Yeah.
Uh,
No, I can't have toshkas without Sheikh Nu'man, you know that.
Yeah, but I can without you. I've been
Allah.
reminiscing and remembering you every single time.
Allahu Akbar.
Dr. Farhan, another reason I needed you on, because to be honest, another reason I needed you on this, right? I didn't tell you this, but this love fest between Sheikh Nu'man and Sheikh Faqih, like if it was just us three, it would be like I'd be the awkward third wheel, and like it'd get really awkward. So this love fest, I needed to balance it out. So I needed someone else on. So Jazakallah khair for coming on last minute. Sheikh Faqih, what are a few things perhaps that that Memphis has in terms of the Muslim community or the Islamic environment that perhaps SoCal can learn from, or you see missing in Southern California, if anything?
I don't think it's fair to ask that question. Well, there's a sense of unity that I really appreciate here, which also is there in Southern California as well to a great extent. But here is kind of just a very like organic. I mean, again, the reason I'm saying it's not fair to compare is because you're talking about you know, a much larger area in Southern California, much diverse community and larger population. So obviously you're going to, the community is widespread, where here it's, you know, like it's, everyone is within very close proximity. I mean, everything here in Memphis is only like 20 minutes away, you know, like you're literally 20 minutes away from everything, from every masjid, from the airport, from any destination. It's 15 to 20 minutes. So
the only thing you're not 20 minutes away from is Sheikh Nu'man.
that is, yeah, I know.
Okay.
SubhanAllah.
Amen.
Yeah. So you know, so in that sense, I mean, it's you feel like it's one community, right? It's like, you know, you don't have you know, most of our activities and programs are done jointly, right, between the masajid here. And yani, alhamdulillah, and I'm joined with a great team, mashallah, recently, especially with why, you know, Yasser Fazig's arrival.
MashaAllah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, Sheikh Nu'man is missing. This is a big void in my life. We need a Sheikh Nu'man here. Something that, you know, Southern California has to really be grateful for. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, protect him.
So just to be clear, he has not visited you in person yet.
No, so you see, it's a one-way thing, right? I've been coming back, you know. No, Sheikh Nu'man did offer to come, inshallah, and there was a plan actually to host him and Sheikh Farhan sometime during the spring, but subhanallah, qaddar Allah ma sha fa'al again. We were supposed to also catch up, you know, in Umrah, but again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a different plan for us.
And the plan to go to Christchurch together as well, which got.
And subhanallah, yeah, true. That too, yeah.
So just to reiterate, you said that the plan in the spring was to bring Sheikh Nu'man and Sheikh Farhan. I didn't hear my name mentioned, so I mean, not offended or not hurt. It's not good. It's not the first time I've been left out before, you know.
No, I was Sheikh Ahmed. Sheikh Ahmed.
No.
I was planning to meet you in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Jazakallah khair. Dr. Farhan. Dr. Farhan. You know, I know you've probably been asked this maybe 2 million times at this point, but I hope you don't mind. I know you've been on the front lines from before COVID-19 because you're an ER doctor, but then even more so since, you know, this epidemic or pandemic. And, you know, you're still there in the ER. I don't know how many cases you've seen and this and that, but what can you tell us about what's going down, at least in Dallas? Is it slowing down? Do you feel like it's hit its peak in Dallas? Or do you feel like it's still going to pick up in Dallas? And just kind of, you know, your thoughts.
Yeah, so I know you guys have it bad in LA, or some areas, but for us, we're still on the slow upward trajectory. So cases are going up, but we're not at our peak or plateau. Every day we see several cases. There's a lot of patients who are okay to go home, who have it, and then there's several who are kind of borderline and they stay in the hospital, and then there's occasional patient who's really sick and is going to the ICU. But we're picking up, we're still bracing ourselves. We're anticipating a bigger surge in the next few weeks, but the experts keep putting these dates out and they keep pushing it. Honestly, I imagine that that's not going to happen until the.
I was going to ask you what's up with that. Like, what's up? What's up?
Honestly,
like,
I don't have an answer.
Like 2 weeks are really important.
Yeah, I think it's just, honestly, what my personal fear is basically once things ease up and people start going back to a regular lifestyle. When I don't know if they will or not. That's a big question, but I think when things ease up in general in terms of the stay-at-home guidelines, then we'll probably see an uptick.
So I know me and you were talking about this just one-on-one about 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, I can't remember. We were messaging back and forth, and you had mentioned it, and then I kind of spoke about it as well. That, you know, we've heard about it, I think, in other countries, but now I think they're saying it in the US, that people that tested positive and then basically cleared, and then this and that, and now some of them, not all of them, but some of them are testing positive again, right? Can you share your thoughts on that?
I guess we're not. It's kind of it's real early. Like, I just read some things we're talking about just yesterday. So we don't really know how to interpret that yet. Like, is this continuation of a virus that was already there and never fully cleared per se? There was an article I read about South Korea, some 700 plus out of the near 10,000 that they had retested positive again, but we don't know anything about them. You know, and the article at least didn't say anything like, clinically, are they sick? Are they not sick? Or, you know, how long of a distance or a time frame was there between being negative and then testing positive again? So a lot of questions. I mean, some viruses do stay in your system and stay forever. And then some viruses, you know, you overcome, you get antibodies, your body develops immunity towards it. And sometimes that immunity is permanent, sometimes that's temporary. And so we really don't know with COVID-19 which way we're going to go with it.
What would be your advice to Muslim community?
I would say, I mean, just take it seriously. I mean, there's a lot of quacks out online and on YouTube, and there's a bunch of YouTube videos being sent around. I've gotten one video particularly with over 2 million views in the last couple of days, probably 10 different times, and people are asking my opinion, and it's some, for lack of a better term, some quack job spitting.
Go ahead. Okay.
Spitting a bunch of foolishness, and everybody's watching it, and everybody's like, oh, this is the real deal, and all these conspiracies. And look, man, this virus is very real. It's killing people. It's devastating people, young people, old people, fit people, not fit people. We don't understand why some very healthy people with no medical problems who are young and on the ventilator in their 20s, and we have people in their 80s who are surviving and doing fine. We're, as a medical community, we're still fighting with this, like trying to understand the disease process and how to treat it, but it's very real and it's scary. So I think if the community is thinking about doing undercover tarawihs at people's houses and gather a bunch of people, I think it's a bad idea. Don't do it. Stick with your family. For the parents who invested in their kids becoming hafaz, now they get to reap the reward, inshallah, and enjoy tarawih at home, and everybody else read from the mushaf if you're okay with that, or do what you can. But I would just be cautious about going back to big gatherings. And I think, you know, the health experts and then the mashayikh have all been very clear about following those guidelines.
Have you seen any treatments that are taking place? I mean, all we hear about is that people are contracting the virus, and you know, after X amount of days, when the symptoms start to become very severe, the only option they have is to check into the hospital, and the hospital just one way or another just ends up putting them on a ventilator in the worst case scenario. And I mean, is there any treatments happening? Do you see, like, you know, hear the about, you know, that hydrochloroquine and all that type of stuff? I mean, at your hospital, are you able to speak to that? Or is there any specific treatments that have been proven to be effective?
So yeah, Trump touted hydroxychloroquine as a game changer, and it certainly has not been. I mean, some hospitals have stopped using it altogether, including in LA. I know some of the brothers I'm on with the WhatsApp group there. They've said the hospitals have altogether just abandoned its treatment, its use, seeing no benefit at all. In Detroit is very bad in Detroit right now. Right after New York, New Jersey, Detroit is third. I mean, there's freezers, trailer freezers outside of almost every hospital for bodies. That's how bad it is. We're trying all sorts of things. Nothing has. I mean, there's some things, that have shown some maybe promise, and in certain cases, but in other cases it doesn't. So we still don't have a good grasp on it. I think everybody's just throwing everything at it, just hoping something sticks on the wall. One of the more recent things is giving plasma from patients who have had the virus and recovered from it. That showed a little bit of promise. And there's a few medicines recently I was listening to, forgetting their exact names. They're not medications that we ever use, we meaning in the ER, but that have shown some early promise. But really, it's just trial and error at this point. Everybody's trying different things and trying to find something that works.
What's the percentage? Have you read up on this? What's the percentage of mortality as of recent?
So in the U.S., and this is with the denominator that we have, meaning the people that we've tested, we're about 3.5% mortality, which is huge. But there's likely thousands of more who are infected who we don't have tests positive on. So that denominator is probably much higher, much larger than what we have, which will bring the mortality down significantly. But what we have, based on the numbers we have, 3.5% is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Right. How's your
really,
hospital doing as
like
far
10%
and stuff?
Shaykh, can you ask your question again?
How's your hospital doing when it comes to PPEs and?
So we're reusing, and we're not even at a surge. So like what we'll do is, we have, you've probably heard of these N95 masks. Those are masks that are supposed to like seal, they seal, period. So they seal around your nose from up top, and from below just tight enough to go on the chin. If you have a beard, it doesn't work. And then certain facial features, it just doesn't seal, and then it doesn't work. But the idea is you have an N95 mask if you can, and then we're wearing a surgical mask over it, and we wear it throughout the shift. And then we.
But just to pause for a second. But you don't wear the N95 mask, right? Or you
Correct,
do because of the beard.
Because of the beard, yeah.
So to clarify, you do have a beard.
But beard, yeah, the black is hiding it. It's still there, yes, sir. Just let it. And then we reuse it in 5 days. So what we do is we have a day 1 brown bag, day 2, day 3, day 4. So day 1, after 4 days, day 5 resets back to day 1 again. And then the hospital has a process. We leave them now that they recently started where they're what's the word, sanitizing or decontaminating the masks, and we reuse it again. So we are looking at a shortage, like everyone. And so we're trying to, even before the surge even hits us, we're trying to, just preserve what we have. Mashallah, the community's been huge. We had a Muslim brother actually in the Dallas area donate 5,000 face shields to the hospital systems here. We have families and mothers and grandmas making, cloth face masks and donating it, and people coming together. Saw in Michigan a communal effort from all the masajid come together with sisters making face masks, cloth face masks, and donating it. So people are doing what they can, but yeah, it is an issue.
May Allah make it easy, and may Allah continue to protect you and your family. Shaykh Faqih, if I can jump back to you, and I have some questions for you, if you don't mind, right?
Yes.
So first of all, I just don't, because with everything going on this year, I could be wrong. I just don't feel like it's going to be as big of a discussion as it has been in previous years. But for yourself and for your community, calculation or moon sighting?
Uh,
Hey, this is the Mashwarah. Come on, let's keep it
I think
real.
the follow-up question is binoculars or no binoculars?
yeah, since we're waiting on you guys to tell us.
Sheikh, we shipped you over there, so you don't.
I'm not gonna see it before you guys. We're waiting for you. We wait for your sunset.
People are saying that part of the plan was that.
I don't think it's gonna matter this year, to be honest with you. This
Sorry,
year, I think we're all going to be starting together.
Sorry, to pause. Yeah, to pause. Wallahi, when I asked that question, it was like a serious question. I wanted to know what's the policy of his masjid. And until Sheikh Nauman, you laughed, I completely forgot. I completely forgot that a few years ago that Sheikh Faqih is basically, mashallah, the one that spotted the moon in Southern California and many other communities, not only in Southern California, but even that they were kind of waiting on Southern California. They began their fast on the sighting of Sheikh Faqih. I actually completely forgot that. I only remembered that when I saw the way Sheikh Nauman laughed, and I was like, oh, like. But sorry, going back to the actual issue, Sheikh. Your masjid.
Perhaps maybe that's why Memphis hired me.
You know, Sheikh Faqih, I don't know if you remember, but I think that year that you saw it, and then a few months later, we were in Hajj together, and we were in Medina after Hajj, and I was walking with you somewhere in Masjid al-Nabawi, and someone stopped you, and they were like, I know you, and then they recalled themselves. They're like, oh, you're the one that saw the moon, right? It was just...
You know how that made me feel?
Please tell us.
I finally felt what it was like to be like Neil Armstrong.
Oh.
I felt like, you know.
But back to the issue at hand, Sheikh Faqih. Your community, moon sighting calculation.
No, moon sighting.
Moon sighting? Okay.
We're very authentic, yeah.
Okay. Because you're authentic. Okay. Shots fired.
Next question. Virtual Taraweeh, or everybody will be reading Taraweeh at home and in your community?
Sheikh Nauman, wallahi, that was my next question. Jazakallah khair. Go ahead, Sheikh.
What is your community doing?
Okay. Well, no. Obviously, everybody. What do you mean by virtual Taraweeh? How do you do virtual Taraweeh?
So I'll explain, Sheikh, how you do virtual Taraweeh. And I actually wanted to spend a few minutes on this. Virtual Taraweeh would be, I guess, you and a few brothers, whether it's like two other brothers, would be at the Memphis Islamic Center of Memphis, MIC, Memphis Islamic Center. Yeah. Would be at the masjid. You would lead Taraweeh. It would be live streamed, and they would be at home, and they would be kind of watching the live stream, praying with you. That is what is meant by the term virtual Taraweeh.
Yeah.
So, are you telling your community to?
Yeah, we prefer the Haram, Bandar Balila specifically, and that's a much better, virtual. Yeah, no, we're not doing virtual. The only thing that we're doing is we're doing classes, we're doing reminders, the khatira right at the very time that people are used to listen to it. So the hope is inshallah ta'ala that people will establish this sunnah of praying Taraweeh individually or in small private gatherings or within their family, and then inshallah maybe take a break around 9:45, listen to a reminder, a khatira like we usually do, and then carry on inshallah with their Taraweeh, inshallah.
Will you inshallah be leading your family in Taraweeh this year, Sheikh?
Maybe I would let my son do it.
8 or 20, Sheikh?
That's a very good question. We're still debating that.
If you lead, it's 8. If your son, it's 20, or is it a community debate or a household debate?
If it's my son, then it's gonna be 4, more like.
Sheikh, so on a serious point on that topic, I don't know if you've heard or got a chance to listen to it, but on this topic, seriously, because a lot of people are wondering, a lot of people are asking, and I know, for example, Sheikh Farhan Zubairi wrote an article on Muslim matters. A number of other imams have addressed it, and fiqh councils have addressed it. And basically, I don't want to say there's a consensus, there's not, but I think it's fair to say the overwhelming majority has basically said that, you know, virtual tarawih, as the way I described it earlier, would not count, right?
Yeah.
That being said, someone you and I highly respect, someone that, you know, I've heard you mention his name, I mention his name, someone that we learn from, someone that is extremely knowledgeable, perhaps one of the most knowledgeable people in the world, Shaykh Mohammed al-Hassan Dido Shanqiti. He has a clip, I think there were two different clips that came out this week, where he basically allowed, and he's one of the, I would say one of the major people that kind of allowed it. Yeah. If you listen to the clip, he added a few conditions. He's basically saying, to what I understand, and people can go back to listen to the clip, but it has to be kind of the masjid in your time zone. And once again, the way he described it is there's a small congregation in the masjid, and people are basically at their homes, whether it's, you know, through the different ways of social media or whatever, they're listening to the tarawih. And he added that there cannot be a delay, like meaning that the imam cannot be on one rukn of prayer and the people are on another rukn. Like, for example, the imam's in sujood and he gets back up and the people like just went to sujood or something like that. So he says that if it's done like that, it has to, if this virtual tarawih is done, there has to be very like a 1 or 2 second what's it called, delay. Now I don't know, Sheikh Naaman, you probably know this better. When we do stuff like this on Facebook, what's the actual delay in terms of?
It's about 5 to 10 seconds, sometimes 10 to 15, up to 30 seconds. There can be a delay, but I believe Sheikh Dido offered a clarification on what was originally being conveyed from him, and I don't think what people took from it is what he intended, and he later clarified. Sheikh Farhan, when he comes on, he can reconfirm that and clarify from Sheikh Dido.
Because I heard Sheikh Yasser Qadi, mashallah, he you know, once again, he said himself that he doesn't feel comfortable with it. The major fiqh bodies have not allowed it. But he mentioned, he said, just to be academically honest, he said he heard it himself. He listened to the clip. And then I actually listened to the clip
We're talking about two different things. I think what Sheikh Nu'man was discussing was Sheikh Mohammed Hassan al-Dado's initial clip about Jum'ah.
No.
That he clarified, and he actually retracted, to be honest with you, yani, because it was very confusing. Now, what you're talking about is something new that I myself haven't heard, and that is and it sounds like I could see him say that. But again, I think there are flaws, very obvious flaws in that taqreer, in that, you know, in establishing that hukum. Today I asked a question, and I sent a question to a body of scholars. It's being discussed. You know, first of all, with regards to Taraweeh, I mean, the established sunnah, the practice of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, was that they prayed in small groups anyways, or they prayed privately at home, individually. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. I think we have an opportunity to practice that sunnah. Many people used to do that. I knew a lot of huffaz who did not lead, who used to pray on their own. So now people get to do this. The question that I asked today, and it would be great to have Sheikh Farhan. Oh, mashallah. Speaking of the angels, mashallah.
Oh, mashallah.
No.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam warahmatullah. Sheikh Farhan, today I asked a question. I sent a question to a body of scholars. I said, if someone has a smart device, right? Can they, and I'm not asking the Ahnaf only, I'm asking everyone. Can they hold that device and read Quran from it? Or if they have a stand for it, right? Can they read from it? Read Quran from it and pray Taraweeh or Qiyam al-Layl? There's a second part to that question. Sheikh Farhan, what is your say?
Sheikh Faqih, just to clarify before Sheikh Farhan answers the question. Sheikh Farhan, I don't know if how when you got on exactly, but we were talking about virtual Taraweeh, and Sheikh Faqih said, you know, he ain't about that, right?
Okay.
And then I mentioned I said, you know, someone that we respect, someone that that, you know, has a lot of knowledge, and, you know, Sheikh Mohammed Hassan Didr Shanqiti, you know, he kind of said that, which surprised us, and basically the clip is very clear. He's saying that, once again, if he's adding conditions, same time zone, and all that, there cannot be a major delay. The imam can't be in one rukun, you're in another rukun, right? He said basically, if all of that fine, then, you know, then you're good, you can do it, right?
Some jawaz.
And I was just asking, we were just kind of having food for thought. But right now, Sheikh Faqih's question is to you about using a smart device. So I told people that you wrote an article on Muslim Matters about Taraweeh at home, mashallah. If you haven't yet been excommunicated by the Deobandi or Hanafi community, the paperwork is in the process. It's being filed right now to excommunicate you, because you did you committed a major sin, bro. You told people it's okay. You told people it's okay to look at the Mus'haf and pray. All right.
They said I did khuruj an al-madhhab.
Khuruj an al-madhhab, bro, and that's dangerous, bro. But Sheikh Faqih is asking you about holding the device. So go ahead, talk to us.
So basically, I guess let me give some backdrop on that.
No. Before the background, just answer this particular question.
Yeah, using the smartphone.
A smartphone or a smart device, an iPad, you're holding it, or it's on a stand.
So I was asked about this earlier, and I said when it comes to the smartphone, it's better not to use, just because it could be too distracting, especially if a person forgets to put on airplane mode, and they're getting text messages and all these notifications, whatever. It's a big distraction. So it would be better to actually use a mushaf instead. Now,
what if it's an iPad?
If it's an iPad that doesn't have all those notifications and stuff, I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
But one issue that someone did mention is that sometimes I mean, this might be like not like a really like fiqhy thing, but they're saying sometimes people use the iPad to watch movies and TV shows and things like that, and then you're going to be reading the mushaf from it, in salah. So maybe it's better to just use a dedicated mushaf for that instead.
But they're purifying the iPad. They're purifying the iPad. Sheikh.
Now, Sheikh, here's a follow-up question. Sheikh Farhan. Sheikh Farhan.
Yeah.
The follow-up question is, this is the question that I sent to a body of scholars to discuss. The following question is, if it's okay for someone to hold a smart device or some electronic device and read from it Quran on their own. Yeah. And if it's okay for them to use it during salah, whether they're holding it or it's on a stand, whichever you prefer. So let's say the person who wants to pray Taraweeh or pray Qiyamul Layl is someone that is not good at reciting Quran, or they don't know how to recite the Quran properly, or they don't know altogether, but they do want to do some kind of Qiyam. Can they?
I know where this is going.
Can they use an app in which they play their favorite qari is reading and they follow with their eyes, right? They follow the qira'ah basically. Yeah. And then they pause and then they make their ruku' and they carry on with their salah on their own.
Yeah. Sheikh, are they reciting behind are they like, as that?
Yeah, are they listening to it and you're
saying it. Okay.
You're following the qira'ah, whether you're looking at it or you're reading. Yeah.
Great question.
One of the issues that comes up with that is that at least عند الأحناف قراءة is a rukun of salah.
Yeah.
Right? So you'd have to actually be reciting yourself. Number one. Number two is if you're listening to the recitation and then you're repeating after it, at least the official position of the Ahnaf would, or at least that would be a sort of talaqqun. That's like ta'allum. You're learning while you're praying. And they argue that learning and doing talaqqun and ta'allum while praying, it breaks your salah. It breaks your prayer. And you mufsid lis-salah. So this is a good question. I don't know. I wouldn't know the answer to that.
Well, Sheikh,
it's slightly uncomfortable. I don't know. How does
that even do this? You're playing, like you have Quran Explorer open. You've got it set to Mishari, and then you pause Mishari, and then you say, okay, Mishari, you be on pause right now. After then you come again and do it. I mean, that's just an obvious.
Farhan, really quickly about the phone thing, right? About the smart device, right? What if a person were to, so right, once you open the Mus'haf app on your phone, right, and let's say you put your phone in airplane mode, right, and basically you just kind of set your phone up where, you know, just for that period, and these are easy things to do, and I think you realize hopefully that before you go into salat, hey, I'm going to be using my phone, let me take the proper steps. So let me put on airplane mode, turn off the internet, which are simple steps, right? And then even if people have like a password, like numbers that they enter or something like that, every time they unlock their phone or something like that, they can remove that. So basically it's just like a click of a button and their phone will open straight to the Mus'haf page when they resume their recitation.
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Would you still say that's disliked? Because I feel like that might be a little more convenient than, for example, holding a Mus'haf.
No, I would say that's fine if they're doing it just reading from their phone and like the Mus'haf app is opened, and even perhaps holding the phone or the tablet would require less what they call amal, like less movement. That would be better, because when you're holding the Mus'haf, you gotta hold it, you gotta open it, you're gonna be flipping pages and all that fun stuff. At least with the phone, it's like more like there's less movement involved. But with the condition that they turn off all their notifications and it's on airplane mode, and they're not texting and they're not like, you know, taking a pause to scroll through their Twitter feed while praying and all that fun stuff.
And make sure they have all the pages downloaded, because if you're off of the internet and you haven't downloaded the parts that you're going to be.
But Shaykh, I think like I think once you download the app, you don't like the pages. You have all the pages.
No. There's apps that require download after you've installed the app.
I think Shaykh, I'll get you a new phone, inshallah. I think you're still using your phone from the 90s. We don't do that anymore, Shaykh. Shaykh Faqih, mashallah, you didn't need to message the fiqh body. You just needed to join the Mashwarah, and we got your answer.
Obviously, it has to be discussed from different
Right.
views.
You know, that's a good thing that you just brought up. One thing that comes to my mind is I've always felt, and I think Shaykh Faqih, knowing him because we are brothers from different mothers, we both are of the opinion that these things should be addressed by councils and bodies and not individual scholars and stuff. Like even when Shaykh Farhan wrote the article that he wrote and he is publishing these things, I know because I'm there when he's doing it, there's a body of shuyukh at IOK who are discussing this, and we are looking at different angles and stuff like that. So there's peer review happening and all that type of stuff.
So you're saying you're okay with holding the Mus'haf too?
Yes.
So you're going to be excommunicated if you haven't already. Okay, cool. I'm just okay.
No one is going to be.
I also want to point out when he wrote the article that he wrote, and he's not saying anything that in an instant as such. The opinion of the Jamhur of the other schools combined with the opinion of the Sahibain, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad, their opinion can be followed, right? He is not, he's doing taqleed of the other madahib in this opinion, in addition to citing that there is an opinion within the Hanafi school as well that coincides with the opinion of the Jamhur as well. So it's a very careful navigation of words. So anybody who read his article, they need to read that very.
Shaykh Farhan and Shaykh Mohammed trying to make sure you don't get excommunicated, basically.
Issues as such, should come from bodies of scholars and councils and what have you. There's just, the ibadah and acts of worship is a very serious matter. right? We cannot take that lightly. So what Shaykh Faqih is seeking is something really valid. And inshallah, the council that he has approached will get back to him with an answer. And then inshallah, he can share that with everyone. But these are serious matters of deen.
Mhm.
And, you know, on this point, I think one thing that's become very clear is guidance, right? From scholars and imam during the crisis of this pandemic that we are in is needed more than ever before. I mean, it's everybody is turning, whether it's you know, protection from pandemics, whether it's guidance during the pandemics, whether it's just spiritual care, whether it's pastoral care, whether it's just anything. I think communities as a whole are recognizing the need for scholars and imams and people of knowledge, unlike ever before. And we're seeing this really evident. You know, may Allah bless Mufti Taqi Uthmani in his age and his wisdom and his knowledge, the way he is navigating this entire crisis in Pakistan with everything that is going on there, with the fatwas and the negotiations and how he's leading a pack of scholars over there. It's just very admirable. And each one of you, I mean, I know how busy you guys are, and it's just, it speaks to, it just speaks to the need of people of knowledge rising to the occasion to address the needs of the Muslims at this time. And, you know, we're very fortunate to have so many of you, mashallah.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, especially when it comes to like issues of fiqh and what they call like an-nawazil. When there's like new circumstances and new situations and new scenarios that show up, like the trained jurist will not make independent judgments and decisions, right? And there's like a whole craft to giving fatwa. If someone's going to answer a religious question, there's like a whole craft behind it that requires knowledge and expertise and skill and consultation and research. And there's like a whole science behind it. And you're not only looking at like the evidences and proofs from the Quran and Sunnah, but you're going to look at the arguments of scholars of the past and their positions. Then you're also going to look at the condition of the people, right? And see what's going on with the people and their circumstances and their scenarios. So, you know, I think it's important for people to have insight in the process that goes behind into, you know, giving these answers and writing such articles or providing that guidance. It's not like on a whim. All right, these are things that people really think out, and it's thought out, and there's munaqasha, what they call this, like debates and discussions, and all this research goes behind it.
Right, and I think one other point in this regards is that sometimes you make a decision based on the knowledge you have in front of you, and then there's some other extraneous information and factors that come into place, and you can always revise it. Right, this is the beauty of our deen. But you know, these are unprecedented circumstances in our lifetime, and people are communicating as much as possible. And the job of the mufti and the faqih and the alim is to create ease for the Muslims and answer their queries and make sure that their answers are rooted and founded in the usul and in the foundations and principles of the schools of thoughts that they're giving the opinion about.
You know, just to build off that, there's one hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that I think every imam should always have at the top of their mind in terms of how to approach their community. Yassiru wa la tu'assiru, wa bashiru wa la tunaffiru. Right, yassiru, make things easy upon the people. Wala tu'assiru, don't make things difficult upon them. We want to bring as many people, you know, back to Islam and to Allah as possible. Right, bashiru, give people good tidings, glad tidings, make them feel good. Right, wala tunaffiru, don't force them away, don't turn them away from deen. I think that's a really important like framework to have when approaching community issues.
I mean, these are some of the foundational hadith, Shaykh Farhan, as you know, when you learn usul al-ifta, these are the hadith that you are taught. Obviously, you know, being within the framework and stuff like that. Dr. Farhan, I wanted to ask you, what's your plan for Taraweeh at home? Are you going to be leading your family, or
That's the plan, inshallah.
With or without mushaf?
So I'm a hafiz. So for the parts that I don't know, I will have to.
you gotta explain that term. Not everyone caught that. Not everyone caught that.
I don't have the whole Quran memorized, unfortunately.
oh, that's what it is.
So
I think it's really a lot of people might not know, but Dr. Farhan Abdul Azeez is a very gifted, talented individual. He's a student of the Quran, mashallah, has half, if not more, memorized. He's a doctor, ER doctor, and mashallah, he's a student of knowledge who constantly studies with ulama and is a teacher of knowledge himself. He goes around and mashallah teaches all these seminars for Al-Maghrib, and he has a beautiful series on Hajj. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables us to go on Hajj this year, he forwards it to me, and I think it's called The Sweetness of Hajj. Correct, Dr. Farhan?
yeah.
And it's amazing. When it comes to du'as, he's also an expert at that as well.
You forgot one thing.
I see where you're going with this, Shaykh.
You forgot one more thing, Shaykh. He's a very talented, capable, amazing, dynamic fundraiser.
Yes, he's a fundraiser as well, and he is, what's that word I'm looking for? He's very enthusiastic about fitness.
I was just going there. Okay.
And his videos about exercising, how many
He's like from the same league as Sheikh Ahmed Billu, mashallah.
right?
I'm trying to get to Bilu. Bilu is like a different level. There's level to the game. You know what I'm saying?
So if I could step in for a second, I'm happy you mentioned that, Sheikh Noman. You mentioned he has a series on the sweetness of Hajj, and may Allah unite us in Hajj together. Soon. I think all of us here, on this call, alhamdulillah, we've been going consecutively, and many times I think we take it for granted, right? And now with the Hajj this year looking more and more unlikely as the time comes closer, I think all of us are kind of just wondering when is the next time, inshallah, that we'll get to visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But on that point, because a lot of people will be praying at home individually this year, whether it is their obligatory prayers or Taraweeh, Dr. Farhan Azeez also has another series on YouTube, which was actually the first one he did, The Sweetness of Salah. It's Dr. Farhan, how many parts? How many parts roughly?
16.
16, right? That's what okay, 16 parts. And I think a person, especially with the time people have nowadays, a lot of time at home, a lot of time being spent on Netflix and whatnot, I think a person could knock it out in a few days. So I do recommend people to check that out, especially because, like I mentioned, all of us will be praying at home with our families, and just to kind of make our prayer transformative and to enjoy that sweetness. But on that point that Sheikh Nu'man mentioned about Dr. Farhan being into fitness and working out, and I think today on your Facebook story you showed that you had like a virtual workout with your trainer, and you created some type of weight out of like those Zamzam bottles, and you filled it with sand, and you made it like 20 pounds, and you were doing like squats with them or whatever it was, right? So a few things. What's your workout regimen been like since you haven't been able to go to the gym? What's your workout regimen been like? How consistent have you been, and what would you recommend to people? And then also, what's your plan in terms of eating? I know Ramadan is supposed to be the month of fasting, but unfortunately many of us treat it as the month of eating. So what's your goal? What are you going to be eating? What are you going to be drinking? What are you going to be refraining from? Or what are you going to be, what type of foods are you going to do distancing from?
Yeah.
Sorry, what happened, Shaykh? I'm sorry.
I'm offended. I wasn't asked that question.
We'll give you the food question, Shaykh.
Good.
For working out, so alhamdulillah, like I am doing with Abdul Kareem Silwadi. He's a MMA fighter, Palestinian brother, a good friend of mine here in Dallas, local. Check him out on Instagram. His handle is Silwadi MMA. He's going to be doing classes actually, even during Ramadan, the group classes, Monday and Thursday. I want to say it's 7 to 8 Eastern time. 7 to 7:40, so 40 minutes, something like that. He'll put some stuff out there, but it's a group session on Zoom, and he kind of guides. It's a whole body workout. So I would recommend people check that out. And when you said advice for working out, I just think in general, especially now, look, sitting at home, not going out, not barely doing any physical activity, right? When you're sitting at home all day, even when you're working, even if it's a stationary work, you're still like going to your car and walking to work and then getting up to go, like now that's changed so much. I think it's important for people to stay active from a health perspective, and even for keeping your immune system strong. Working out is important. So I think I would definitely recommend people to get some sort of regimen in one way or another, whether it's with someone or alone. Even if you're doing a muraja of your Quran or your recitation of your Quran in the day, just so you're doing half an hour, 1 hour, your jizz, whatever it is, just do it while walking. Walk back and forth in your hallway, in your home, whatever. But even that extra steps are huge. I think it's important for your health and for your longevity of ibadah. If you want to be doing sujood when you're 70, you got to put in the work now.
So yeah, like you mentioned, right? I mean, everyone's staying at home. We're supposed to be staying at home. So hopefully, this whole coronavirus, we're flattening the curve. But also because we're staying home, there's another curve that's not being flattened. I like that. What's your typical suhoor and iftar gonna look like in Ramadan?
Bro, I feel like it's the question I gotta ask you, man.
No, please don't ask Shaykh Ahmed, please.
Shaykh Faqih, there will be no vegetables. There will be no vegetables. I apologize. Go ahead, Farhan. Typical suhoor, typical iftar.
You see Joe Rogan went on that like all meat diet. He said he leaned out and it was just meat. I thought of you, bro. I was like, you're gonna love this.
So what's suhoor and iftar like? Or what do you want it to look like? Yani,
Honestly, I'm not a nutrition expert, man. I'll probably my goal is.
I didn't say what it should look like. I didn't say what it should look like. What will it look like for you?
My plan is to get workouts in before iftar. So like if Maghrib is like at 8 o'clock, I'm gonna try and get a session 6:45 to 7:45. And then iftar time, I'll have whatever I'm having plus a protein shake. Lots of fluids. I think that's important. Hydrate yourself a lot between Maghrib and Fajr. Depending on your level of activity, I mean, my trainer tells me get a gallon in between Maghrib and Fajr, which I can't do. He can do in his sleep, but I can't do that. But lots of fluids, I think, is important. Otherwise, my wife and I were talking about a no rice diet for Ramadan. We're gonna try that and try and be healthy. And I'm gonna be having salads every day, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that because you finished all the rice already?
And I put it in a workout bag, Shaykh. Now it's my workout bag.
Shaykh Ahmed, I have a prediction for this year. I think this is gonna be the first Ramadan where many people are going to actually lose weight.
You think so?
I have a feeling. Yes, because most people finish their snack and whatever they nuts and snack they had at home already. Being at home for the past 4 weeks, so most people depleted their pantries anyways. So you have very little to.
I would love to kind of be optimistic with you, but I think, and I hope this is not the case, but I think, to be realistic, I think this might be the Ramadan that people put on the most weight. Because I mean, think about it. Even if you're praying Taraweeh at home, like every 2 rak'ahs, you can take a break and go to the fridge.
Have
right?
in between every 4 rak'ahs.
Could be.
Have a what, Shaykh Farhan?
The Haagen-Dazs bar after every 4. As a prize.
You'll be able to reward yourself after every 4 rakats.
Right. right? Because usually when you pray at the masjid, you pray Taraweeh. Like, even if, like, you know, you got to go do something, or you forgot to bring a water bottle or something, right? And you want some water, you're trying to wait till, you know, the masjid starts fundraising or gives a khatara, so you can rush outside, grab a drink, you know. So you're on a tight schedule kind of when you're at the masjid. But, you know, when you're at home, you know, I don't know, it's going to be hard to, unless you kind of lock the fridge and, you know, put a lock on it or something like that. Allah understand.
I actually have a question for Farhan,
Mhm.
Dr. Farhan.
Oh,
You know, you said that you work out before iftar, right?
That's my plan, inshallah. Or
So
it'll be
now
at nighttime, one of the two.
Okay, I heard from some people that that can be risky, given the fact that, you know, that when you're dehydrated, your blood thickens, and there is a, you know, a higher risk of getting, you know. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to philosophize that you're the doctor. Is that a myth?
No, I mean, I think it depends on the person. You know, I wouldn't put that as a blanket statement out there for everybody to work out before iftar.
Okay.
That's what I do during the daytime now. Like if I'm fasting, extra fast, I'll try and do either before iftar, or I'll do it at night. Like last year in Ramadan, we were training at night. We would go after Taraweeh, like late at midnight or something. But this year, that's a possibility too. We might do between the two, but I think depending on your baseline fitness level and what you're already doing, what your body can handle.
So what about people like Shaykh Nu'man and myself? You know, we're kind of seniors.
I think you guys can do after Fajr and before Maghrib, Shaykh.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
I emphasize that is easy on the knees. You know what I'm saying? Like if I just sat here, just like move my arms like this in a cycle motion, would that like be helpful?
It would. Work your shoulders out, man. That's a good workout. Just rotating your shoulders. Do it for a minute straight.
Yeah, there you go.
100 rolls forward, 100 rolls backwards. Your shoulders will be burning.
Shoulders would be what?
Burning.
It'll be burning.
Burning. Okay. MashaAllah. I have a question for Shaykh Faqih, or I have a series of questions. You know, Shaykh Faqih, you've been gone now for about 8 to 10 months from Southern California. Like, what are some of the things you used to do that you miss, people you miss, places you miss? I mean, like, I want you to spill it. You know, there's a lot of Southern California folks here are listening to you live right now, and you know, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback that it's great to see you. Some people are upset. Why didn't you bring? I mean, if it's the Mashwarah and you know Shaykh Faqih was the fixture and he was the original members, why didn't you bring him on first? So you know, they made me feel really bad about it, and they're right actually. But coming back to you, I mean, talk about some of the stuff that you really miss about SoCal. Anything you'd like to say?
I mean, those weekly mashwaras were very therapeutic. You know, obviously, you know, and we had, mashallah, you know, different options, you know, in terms of places that we can go to. Obviously, I mean, I spent almost a decade and a half, right? Like 15 years is not is a good. As a matter of fact, if I look at my career as an imam, the bulk of it, I mean, you know, two-thirds of that career was spent in Southern California. So actually more than that, you know. So obviously there you know, there are a lot of memories and relationships and lessons, mistakes. So it's you know, it wasn't an easy decision, subhanallah. But you know, almost, you know, every community member that I would meet with on a regular basis. Sometimes I just remember people randomly. I was like, how's so and so? You know, even people that sometimes I may not even, I feel guilty for saying this, I may not remember their names, but I remember their faces, you know, their smiles or something about them.
Right. Don't feel guilty using the word random as it relates to you. I think that's your middle name. I think.
No. My middle name is spontaneous.
Hello. There you go. That's a better way.
Not random.
Spontaneous.
Sheikh Faqih, maybe after you finish, I can share the mattress story.
Yeah.
I know that story.
I don't want to know.
No, please.
But what are some things that you
Actually,
in California that you miss, Sheikh? I know you had a group of like many people who used to get together at a diner on Saturday or Sunday mornings. And
you know what one thing I'm very grateful for is that in the recent years, and I'm not sure why this didn't happen sooner. In the last 5 years, I was able to really connect with people and make relationships that I think I'm going to cherish for a long time. So there are people that I came to really know closely and get closer to within the past 5 years that I wish I had known, earlier. So subhanallah. And one of the greatest actually opportunities, or one of the greatest, I guess, ways people bond and connect is during Hajj and Umrah, right? So so when I look back, I'm like, okay, subhanallah, most of these people that I really have deep connection with and I care about and I make dua for and I pray for, and I connected with them either because they're involved in the masjid, right? Or we basically shared some memories together during Hajj or during Umrah. So I'm really grateful for the fact that what brought us together was the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the love of Allah azza wa jalla. And subhanallah, this is what it does, when ma kana lillahi dama wa tasal, that which is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be, everlasting, and it will be connected, even if our bodies, or even if we're socially or geographically distancing from one another, we're still connected at a deeper level, emotionally and spiritually. So when I look at these individuals, I say, alhamdulillah, subhanallah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this opportunity to really get to know them. And I invite, our community members, inshallah, to really look for ways to have meaningful relationships that are really founded upon something that transcends the connection that we have in this life, right? So that is something that I miss, inshallah. And I'm looking obviously forward to making these kind of connections here as well,
Maybe.
there was somebody was commenting, Sister Muddy was saying that she remembers our faces from Hajj last year, and she said that she had asked you, Sheikh Faqih, for the Wi-Fi password in Muzdalifah. So I don't know why you would with the Wi-Fi in Muzdalifah. With the Wi-Fi in Muzdalifah. Can you please explain yourself?
Are you talking to me?
I didn't tell us.
You're talking to me?
She got it from you, she said.
Faqih, looks like you had a hotspot in Muzdalifah. You didn't tell us about it.
Yeah, I had Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean T-Mobile, man. T-Mobile.
Allahu Akbar.
SubhanAllah, man.
Yeah. SubhanAllah,
Really?
Shaykh Nu'man, can I tell you something? I mean, Dr. Farhan, you were there. We met, right? You betrayed us this year, but last year, SubhanAllah, we met. Shaykh Ahmed, obviously, we were all together in the same tent, and he didn't even let me sleep. Shaykh Farhan. SubhanAllah, you guys remember the rain, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how it kept raining like 3 days in a row, right? And then that hard rain in Mina.
No.
Something about this last Hajj, the experience, and it was something that we haven't experienced, like, either, as far as I can remember, for 35 years, I've never witnessed anything like this. Though I didn't make Hajj every year, but I used to live in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, when I was up until I was like 16 or 17. So something just made me feel that not only was it a very exceptional and a special Hajj, but it was like, I was looking forward to this year's Hajj, but subhanAllah, something made me feel like this something is up, something. So subhanAllah, it just right now I feel like I wish I can go back to that moment and make the most out of it,
Wow.
And I think one thing that I'm trying to learn right now is to take advantage of whatever we have right now. Like we have a month coming, a very special month, the month of Ramadan, and we should take full advantage of it because we don't know where we're gonna be next time Ramadan comes around. We don't know where we're gonna be in terms of like life or the abilities that we have or the opportunities that we have. So I think because a lot of people are saying, oh, we're not gonna have access to masjid, but the very fact that we're still here, we're still alive, we're well, inshallah ta'ala, may Allah keep each and every single one of us healthy and keep us well, inshallah. The fact that we're still here, that we can still observe fasting and we can experience Ramadan, even if it's not the way we're used to it, I think is a ni'mah that we should be very grateful for and we should be very excited about.
True that.
Agreed, Shaykh Faqih. We're kind of hitting over an hour, so I wanted to end soon. Before I end, I think Shaykh Naman, you were looking at it, so I'll just show it. This right here, you see it, this rainbow thing? Just to be clear, I'm not trying to make a political statement. This is simply a toy that my girls play with, okay? So I'm not trying to make a political statement. I didn't choose the colors. It's a toy they play with, so I know. I saw it pop in the corner.
Thank you for the clarification.
I saw Shaykh Naman looking at me a little strange. Like he catches these things. So and I knew it might come up later. But
man has the eye for it, mashallah.
As we end, before we end, I wanted to unless Shaykh Farhan Zubair, you have any other final comments or maybe some comments at the end. I want to get some Ramadan advice, for the viewers. Any advice that you want to give Dr. Farhan Azeez, you can go first. Something short, sweet, and then Shaykh Faqih, something that you can add perhaps to what you've already said. Some Ramadan advice, obviously unprecedented times, a different Ramadan than we've all ever experienced. So go ahead, Dr. Farhan.
I don't know. The one thing that came to my mind earlier today, we had a webinar about Aqsa, and we had a trip. I was actually with a group in Masjid al-Aqsa. We were supposed to go to Umrah right when the whole visa ban kind of happened and the announcement, and we had the tourist visas. We were supposed to be able to still go, but then we weren't. So we were in Aqsa the group wasn't there for 3 days, and then we had to come back. And we met a lot of people, a lot of different stories. And one of the things that we met numerous people who had been obviously living there their whole life, but never able to go to Masjid al-Aqsa. They've spent 50 years of their life in the land of Palestine, right next to one of the holiest sites in Islam, and one of the great democracies of the world, blocking people from worshiping. And so their spirit, though, is so remarkable, that they, we met people who are banned from praying in the masjid. So what they'll do is they'll come outside the gates every salah that they can, and they'll pray outside the gates. There's a bunch of sisters who started this movement to have people pray Fajr in the masjid, and they're raising awareness, and they got banned from coming into the masjid. Our group had the chance to meet them between Maghrib and Isha, and then the group prayed with them Isha outside the gates, even though we're missing out on their 500 times reward in the compound itself. But in solidarity with them, we prayed outside the gates. But what we learned, one of the things we learned from them was this kind of commitment that they had, that despite what they were going through and not being able to pray in the masjid, being blocked from the masjid. We see the pictures of the Haramain when they're empty. SubhanAllah, Aqsa's been like that for a long time. Khalil, Masjid Ibrahim and Khalil has been like that for a long time. We prayed in Masjid Khalil, Salat al-Dhuhr, on the 26th anniversary of the massacre, February 25th, 1994. We were there February 25th, 2020. We were there, and there was literally a handful of people there for Salat al-Dhuhr. And it's obviously profoundly sad, but I think one of the things that is important for us, being in a Ramadan now, we're tasting what they go through for the last, several decades of not being able to go to the masjid. And now it's very close to home where we can't go to the masjid for different reasons. But they found a way to stay connected, and be committed to the religion. And so I think learning from that, and also, even though we're individuals and families now in our homes and not able to have iftars with everybody, not able to pray in the masjid together, I think having that connection still to the global ummah is critically important. And not forgetting them and our Muslim brothers and sisters around the world who are in whatever situation that they're in, that we're connected to them through our dua and our concern. I think that's important as well. So Ramadan will be individual, but at the same time, I hope our du'as and our commitment will only continue to be elevated.
I think you're muted, Sheikh Billo.
Sheikh, Jazakallah khair, Dr. Farhan, and Ameen to what you said. Sheikh Faqih.
What can I say, Sheikh? You know, the beauty of our religion is that it teaches us that ibadah does not come only in one form. So just because we won't be able to go to the masajid and pray Taraweeh, that doesn't mean that you can't pray at home. Just because we can't go to the masjid and listen to someone motivate us about giving sadaqah, that doesn't mean that we can't donate online and look for causes ourselves without necessarily being forced, or kind of not forced, but encouraged to give. Just because we can't go to the masjid and have iftar, that doesn't mean that we can't feed people overseas. Or just because we can't go and volunteer in the masjid and serve people, that doesn't mean that we can't serve our family members and lend a hand to our spouses and help them and practice a sunnah, which I think if you have the right intention, inshallah, it will count. If your intention is to emulate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to help your wife, maybe make the salad, or maybe wash the dishes, or do something of that nature, there is plenty of room for us to do good deeds and capitalize and take advantage of the month of Ramadan. The only difference is that this time we have to do everything on our own and be self-motivated, right? And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. So I hope that inshallah ta'ala will be of those people who will prove themselves to be true and sincere and authentic. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan a blessed month for all of our community members and for the Muslim Ummah and for humanity. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan an opportunity, inshallah, for us to bond as family members, and also get to appreciate the connection that we had with our community members, so that next time, inshallah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with the opportunity to congregate and come together with our fellow Muslim community members, inshallah ta'ala, we are much more grateful and humbled and appreciative of it, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan.
Barakallah feek, Sheikh Faqih. In terms of, and I usually mention this at the beginning, but you mentioned donating. Sheikh Nauman, what's the website again? What's the website, Sheikh?
SupportIOK.com.
SupportIOK.com. Thank you. Sheikh Farhan, any final thoughts before Sheikh Nauman is reciting, right?
No, I'm not. Sheikh Faqih is going to conclude.
You know, lots of people were messaging, looking forward to it. They're like, make sure you don't forget to ask Sheikh Nauman recite.
I can't.
We want to hear that old school Hudayfi.
I just don't have it right now. I'm just look at my eyes. I can't recite.
They're beautiful, your eyes.
Sheikh Nauman recites with his eyes,
I'm just tired. I want to add to what Dr. Farhan and Sheikh Faqih did say earlier. And I think what Sheikh Faqih really touched upon, what I was saying, that it's just so beautiful, though, that despite we're all sheltering at our homes and our public lives have been limited in the way they have been, we're just still united at heart, right? And this was beautiful because when we made our Saturday program, we have this like 1.5 hour program on Saturday morning from IOK, where we have like 6-7 different speakers just come on for 10-15 minutes. And we were thinking, what should we call this program, or what should we name it? And we call it United at Heart, because such is the affair of all the believers as a collective unit, that we're all united at the heart. Although we will be celebrating Ramadan in the within the walls of our homes, right? Most likely, but we still are always going to be connected in some way or another, and that concern is still there. You know, when we were sheltering at home, and in this, at some places there's a mandatory lockdown. Some places there's this voluntary or self-imposed shelter in place and all that type of stuff. I mean, it made us really feel united at heart with what our fellow brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Palestine, go through, you know, and what our brothers and sisters in Kashmir are still going through. I mean, because it just makes you think in that way. So regardless if there's going to be a Ramadan as we knew it, or a new rendition of Ramadan in our personal lives, as it very well may be this year, we're all united still, you know, we're still concerned for one another. And the affair of the believer is always khair, you know, in whatever aspect, whether it's a collective aspect or an individual aspect, whether it's a communal aspect or a familial aspect. There's always khair, and it is upon us to seek that goodness in the moment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in. So that's my message, and I'll hand it back to Shaykh Ahmed Billu.
Shaykh Farhan, any final thoughts?
Something I've been thinking about is that, you know, since we're all going to be at home, and for a lot of people that means they're going to have a lot more time on their hands, and we as human beings have this amazing ability to waste time and find ways to waste time. So just make sure that when we're approaching Ramadan, that we're trying to do things in a very like systematic, organized fashion, and we're going to take as much advantage of it as possible. And don't be inundated by all of these different distractions that we have. You know, mashallah, there's so much religious programming going on from every Islamic center, from every community. You know, people might just get distracted and start jumping from one to another and hear like 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there, 15 minutes there. And at the end of the day, just got snippets from everything. So really try to plan and focus on what you want to benefit from personally, and kind of make that goal from now and try to achieve it throughout Ramadan, inshallah.
Sheikh Farhan, you actually said something very, very, I mean, all of you have said something powerful and beneficial, but Sheikh Farhan, you're so right about so much Islamic programming online, right? And it's so easy to watch, you know, 15 minutes of tafsir, and then 15 minutes of this reminder, and then 15 minutes of that, and grow through Ramadan, entire Ramadan like that. And yes, there's so many imams and scholars and shuyukh and, you know, du'at online offering so much beneficial programming. But I think, like you said, it's important for a person to kind of decide what they want to focus on, what Islamic center, what imam, what institution, what programming, what subject, and just kind of follow that from the beginning all the way till the end of Ramadan. Because you know the way the Muslim community is, mashallah, like you'll be on your phone and someone will send you, hey, so and so is doing a series on this, and then the next day so and so is doing a series on this, and then there's a seminar on this, and you're just clicking from link to link and you never really finish anything, right? Whether it's a tafsir of a surah or some, you know, the fiqh of prayer or whatever it may be, right? So just kind of focusing, finding something, and then telling yourself, hey, I'm gonna do these 2 series or these 3 series and listen to every lecture every day, or, you know, every weekend I'm gonna do this series. So I think that's very, very key. I think we've been going for almost an hour and a half, so wanted to end. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Farhan, for joining us. Appreciate it. You know, you came on last minute. So
I got a question for you before we end, though.
You got a question for me?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm the host.
First of all, I need your closing advice. But more pressing, I see you're the Ernie Johnson of the group. So who's Shaq and who's Charles?
Who's Shaq? See, I'm Ernie Johnson. Who's Shaq and who's Charles? Farhan, I'm gonna need your help on this one.
I'm the round mound of rebound. I got the body type for the Barkley.
Yeah, so Farhan is definitely Charles. Sheikh Faqih is definitely our Shaq, but definitely, obviously, you know.
He's the tallest. The tallest.
Kenny the Jet Smith and Sheikh Noman.
Sheikh Noman is rightfully so Kenny the Jet Smith because the Houston Rockets were and are his favorite team.
There you go.
Sheikh Faqih, if you could finish us off with close us off with some dua بإذن
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحمنا فإنك بنا راحم ولا تعذبنا فإنك علينا قادر. اللهم رحمتك نرجو فلا تكلنا إلى غيرك طرفة عين. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين. اللهم رب جبرائيل وميكائيل وإسرافيل فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. اهدنا لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والسلامة من كل إثم والغنيمة من كل بر والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. جزاكم الله خيرا.
جزاكم الله خيرا to all our viewers. وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Signing off.